Well, hello again, YouTube. It's Petey, and today we're going to be taking a look at the super portable battery powered PA slash digital recorder. This is a device that I slapped together recently. And we're going to be taking a look at the insides and outsides, what makes this tick. And that would be, there's three batteries. This is the e-bike or Dynacraft 48 volt lithium ion power cell that powers the power amp. So I believe we did not get a image of the rear of this. If we look on the inside, you can kind of see there is these three jack-a-majiggers here, and these are where you plug the PA speaker. So there's a right PA speaker, a left PA speaker, and a subwoofer, a big old bass speaker. We have two small 8-inch Eminence bass drivers, and then we have, and those are in their own individual ported bass reflex subwoofer cabinets. So they're about a 12-inch square cube, these little subs that we got for $5 a piece at the Goodwill, and they had 8-inch sub speakers in them. I removed those sub speakers and we got bass guitar speakers in there. So they don't go down to the real low frequencies, but we're not playing hip hop. We're playing rock and roll. So these speakers are perfect for what we're doing. This is the power amp. Okay. So the 48 volts from this battery, this e-bike battery that's over here, that is what makes the speakers go boom. And this is the amplifier board and the big old heat sink that pushes the speakers. And this is loud. It is cop callingly loud. Like our Duo, we sound as loud as a typical rock band would sound playing with this. But we have the ability to turn it down because we have a master volume. We're playing to drum tracks, which really do sound authentic, but you can turn them down. So that it's not as loud as a real drummer. And the drums, they sound more like a mastered album than a drummer in a garage. Same thing with the guitar and the bass, because we're using multi-effects with amp modelers and cabinet simulators and impulse responses, and that's how that stuff sounds. So the power amp has a master volume. There's a satellite volume which controls the level of the right and left speakers. There is a subwoofer volume which controls the master or the volume for the subwoofer cabinet, and then there's a treble control. There's a tone control that affects the satellite speakers. So I relabeled this thing. I didn't like how this looked. I asked my wife to remove this Sharpie marker, and we used a little printer and printed out little stickers on here. But we just tested this thing today because we're going to be doing a remote. And the power amp, as you can see, has three outputs on it. The 48 volts comes in here, and then I use really large diameter, really hefty cable to carry the audio. The power amp needs some beefy wire for the 48 volts coming in, as well as the output, because this is 300 watt for the sub and 150 per channel for the satellite. So it's a 600 watt Class D power amp. Now this battery here that's held down with this little strapping, this little piece of wood holds it in place here. This is the output cable that goes to our mixer. Our powered mixer slash recorder is a Zoom LiveTrack L8 that we just got that. We won that on an online auction. I did not know they even made it, and it's a wonderful device. And we'll talk about that more later. This teal or turquoise colored cable serves to recharge this power pack. So this has 6 or 8 18650 batteries in it. And we have another one of these that I just got that says an aluminum chassis that has 8 batteries in it, and that has a big digital OLED display on it. That's the battery we're going to use to power our new camera. We have a Canon Vixia camera, so we're running our mixer off 5 volts and we're running our camera off 5 volts. This is newer stuff, and they're running all of these new things off of 5 volts. So it's a little bit different than what we've done in the past. This 48 volt battery, this is an e-bike battery that we found this at the Goodwill, and they had a $4.99 price tag on it. When I got home, I looked up this same battery, the part number, and it was $499 for this battery. So yeah, we got a good deal on it. Now the duo, the music we make, my wife plays a bass, I play the guitar, and this is an MP3 player, and here is a little memory, a thumb drive, and that has the drum tracks in stereo. So I have a high quality MP3, it's 320 kbps, and this is a little $3 MP3 decoder board that has a 5 preset EQ. We really don't use the EQ on here. And the play, fast forward, and rewind buttons have been cloned. So the play button, there's wires soldered on internally here that come down to this comically oversized mushroom head, 20 millimeter green aluminum mushroom head momentary contact push button switch. I've cloned the rewind button to a little smaller. I think this is a 20 and these are 19s. So we have fast forward and rewind. So the main functions that I'm doing with this when we play is pause, play, rewind, and fast forward. Now I very well may come down to putting another port in here, cutting a hole in it and adding another jack that would clone this switch to a foot switch, so I can get it all set up and paused on whatever track we're about to play, and then we can start basically I have to hit record on the camera, on the camcorder. Then I have to come back and hit record and play on the Zoom LiveTrack, because this is not only our digital mixer with built-in digital effects, but it also is an audio recorder that records a 2-track master as well as the inputs. So I will have like these first 2 channels are the MP3. And that's powered by these 2 little batteries here. Our mixer is powered by the battery that I showed you that lives inside of the chassis. We have this battery pack here that powers the mixer. So like I said, I get up from where I'm seated. I hit record on the camera. I come back here and hit record and play on the Zoom LiveTrack to get that recording. And then finally, I will hit play on the digital audio player, and that will fire off the 4 count or 8 count that I've put on the backing track, and this cues my wife and I when to begin playing. And the system works very well. So here's the 48 volt input. There is a fuse just behind that. There's a couple of cables that come out from the MP3 player to our channel 1 and channel 2. This square here is part of a automotive or plastic blade type fuse holder for this is an aviation style connector. They're rated at higher than 12 volts. You can run like higher voltages through this connector. And then here, this is a stereo connector, comes out of one of the headphone ports that goes down into the amp. The amp does not have balanced input connections, otherwise I would be using these balanced connections here. So as far as the master goes, I can use, this is the master, this is the effects return for the, you can select 2 different types of plate reverbs, a room, or it's hall, 2 different hall reverbs, a room reverb, a plate reverb. There's an echo, chorus, and then the last 2 effects are called vocal 1 and vocal 2, and that's a combination of reverb and delay. So it's like to go into record mode, you hit this. If you want to play with the effects, you hit that. If you're saving mixer presets, you can hit this. And then the scenes you save here. The scene is basically set up for the whole thing. And each channel, you hit this button here, and this will give you access to your 3-band EQ, your pan, control, low cut, and your effects. So it's pretty bare bones. The Zoom Live Track is like, you don't even really need to read the manual to kind of figure it out if you're pretty savvy. This is a piece of coat hanger wire that's coated with red plastic that I straightened out and made this, it's screwed in with some pretty hefty screws and some washers. You can see I reinforced the area where this fastens, and it's reinforced on the other side too. So yeah, this is our super portable powered mixer PA recorder 2. This is the second one. Actually, I think I've really built 4 or 5 of these now, but the super part, the 600 watt, and the fact that this records not only a stereo, like the output with the effects on it, but it also gives you individual mixes of each one of the inputs. So whatever comes into it, you can record the inputs too. So that means I can go in post and add my own effect processing, my own compression and limiting on the drums. If I make a mistake on just the guitar track, I can go to a different part of the song where I didn't make that mistake, copy those notes and paste them over where I did flub it, which is really, really cool. So it's like, if you make a mistake, don't acknowledge it facially. Don't make scrunch up your nose face like you just smelled a skunk, because we're going to be able to fix that in post. So the handle, I added this handle on the side to give it also this locking latch here. This is just a card-sized piece of wood with a couple of fasteners in the bottom and then a fastener that you can manually screw in, so it will not open once you've got that screw added in there. This is the charging cable. I just put a hole that lines up with the charge port, and I've got an ultra long, like a it must be 3 meter, so like 10-foot cable to charge this, which is really cool. We found that cable at Goodwill. So here's the bottom side of the MP3. It has a real unique shape you have to cut out, and then there's these intrusion on the corners. There's little intrusions where the fasteners go. So you basically have to sketch out a oblique angled shape, and then remove that wood and make sure that you're leaving wood to run these fasteners through. Here's the 19 millimeter momentary contact and the 20, the switches, and then here's a pair of toggle switches. This one connects the battery from the top mounted 3 volt battery, or 8.4 volt, this pack here. These, I could have mounted this inside, but you know what? The way that this is set up is so you don't have to open it. You can plug it in and charge the pack up for the Zoom without opening it. We can just come home and plug it in overnight, and it'll charge up, and then you can pop these batteries in here, and you're good to go. The only other thing would be, well, you need the external big honkin' power supply or battery to run the power amp, which plugs in on the top. The reason being, the back is much thicker. This is real thin wood on the top, and that's why I chose to run that power cable. You may think that's a questionable choice to put that on the top, but it's really not an issue. It's not going to interfere with anything. When we get to the remote, we slap this down, put the battery next to it, plug it in, and then there is a couple of cables that come off of my stereo setup, and my wife we can use a single balanced connector, an XLR line in for her bass. And that's how we'll be doing it. If we want, I believe we have 2 balance cables that we can run the bass in stereo, but I think we're going to just go mono with it. It's bass. I'm not sure if any stereo effect on her processor. I mean, we are using the Boss Terra Echo quite a bit on her bass, and that is a really unusual filtered delay, so there is some wackiness going on to the music as what would relate to the bass guitar. But that's it. That's the super portable powered PA mixer recorder 2 that we put together. I tested it today, and I was sitting there. I had the speakers right next to it, and I thought, oh, this is going to make just a great picture. And then I take the picture, and it's like all this other stuff in the background makes it look so messy. This is always the case with me, but I thought it would make for an interesting video to go over this thing. I know I've talked about it in the past. You guys are going to be experiencing this because we're going to be doing a remote and making our music, playing these songs, and using the live track for the first time. And I'm guessing I don't think it's going to be a train wreck or a disaster. I think it's going to, even from the first time we take it out, that it's going to work really well because I will have separate tracks, so I can mix it at home. And I really don't have a problem mixing for the duo. It's drums, bass, and 1 guitar. So it's pretty not as challenging as one would think. There's no vocals. It's pretty much like it's going to mix itself. Anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about this process, procedure, this contraption, this thing we slapped together, again, I'm not here to say this is some amazing thing that I built. Didn't really build it. This is something that we slapped together. We managed to slap this together. Okay? This is a hack. It's not electronics. It's not anything that requires skill. Although this is the type of thing that I would cook this up in the time when I'm retiring. Like at night when I lay down in bed, this is what will run through my head. I will design something like this in my head, meaning I will imagine it taking this silverware service box and ripping holes in it and installing the necessary elements to make this piece of gear, this contraption, the super portable powered mixer PA digital recorder 2.